All right. Good morning, everybody. Just give me a thumbs up. Let me know you can hear me okay before we get started. Excellent. Thank you, Marisa. Appreciate it. All right. So we'll go ahead and we will join Palms. Good morning, Bill. You can join Palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. And keeping the palms joined. All right, and putting the palms down. All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome to Intro to Buddhism and Meditation. I always like to start out with a question just to help us settle in and give some time before people show up for the meditation practice. So now I'm trying to come up with a question, and I don't have one. That's it. I have no questions. How about well, here's kind of a simple one. I mean, simple but very complex. And think about why you do the meditation practice. And let's share the reasons. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. You'll see a chat box somewhere on your screen. Feel free to type your response in there, as little or as much as you'd like. But a pretty simple question of why do you do your meditation practice? Excuse me. I'll type this in here. Why do you practice meditation? And if you're new for the first time, welcome again. And why do you want to learn? If new, why do you want to learn? So I think it's something that, maybe there's that initial spark or reason that you meditate, and then maybe it's just something you do. But I do think it's important to reflect on quite often why you do this practice. With everything, there's no right or wrong answer, but just to be able to ask yourself very honestly, what is the reason that I'm choosing to do this? What is the reason I'm choosing to sit and breathe? What is the reason that I'm going to really just kind of work on settling the mind? But for me, I find it very important to, especially for those who are newer and maybe not as disciplined or not as committed to a daily practice, to always remember what your original intention was. What were the reasons you started doing the meditation practice? Because I find that will help really keep you inspired and motivated. Often people kind of fall in and out of practice, and they'll do it for a while and they'll stop. They'll do it for a while and they'll stop. Um, and a metaphor I always use is like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth for 3 months and then take a month off. You do it every single day uh, for daily maintenance, daily care. So just like brushing your teeth, it should be something that is just ingrained in our daily lives. So it's good to reflect on why. All right. Bill, I meditate to calm and slow my mind, to train myself to have a larger gap between stimulus and reaction, to see things more clearly and be more present and accepting of what is. All right, beautiful. Thank you very much. And again, if you're just chiming in or just starting to type or not sure what to type, don't be concerned with right or wrong answers here. This is really just more of an opportunity to reflect on, within yourself and share it if you're comfortable. Kelly, to work on getting more comfortable with things as they are. Marley, gives space between a thought and my reaction to it and makes my life much smoother as a result. Samir, to put some air and space between thoughts into my sometimes chaotic mind. Molly, mental health benefits, quieting the ego, feeling more connected to the planet. Lisa, to be more present in the moment and calm. And all of the above. And Cynthia, yes, and all of the above. So we have a lot of all of the aboves. I think it's interesting, to me at least, my exposure to so many people over the years is that the reasons people choose to do a meditation practice don't differ too much. Each person has different experiences and situations in their lives that leads to the stress and chaos, and those experiences are very different. But when you look at summing up the reason why you do it, they're usually pretty similar, which is a combination of everything that's already been shared. And I think most important, as I alluded to earlier with the meditation, is just that you always check in with yourself pretty regularly and just remind yourself if you feel like you're kind of falling away from a dedicated disciplined practice, just kind of come back to, the things you shared here. And just as a reminder to how important these things are. So, all right, anything else before we start the meditation? All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll begin. There's a couple things I'll tell you before we start. Nothing's going to happen to you. You won't float away. You won't have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working? Is it not working? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside your room, sounds outside, wherever you are. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And the practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. So posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, it helps slide into the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten. Shoulders are relaxed. Hands can be on the knees or in the lap, whatever's comfortable. I will guide us as we begin, and we will settle into a little bit of silence. And again, starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, you'll settle into a natural rhythm of the breath, noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest, breathing in, feel them rise, breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from the practice, just sitting, breathing. Letting go of expectations, letting go of judgment from the practice, just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation. Yet concerned with nothing, but sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe, knowing with each breath there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's not from sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means, very simply for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. This practice is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. So all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, and focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun, but meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's sitting, breathing, learning to be kind to yourself and everybody else. Once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone around us, and we work on changing our mind and our reaction to the world around us, life gets simpler. But it's a practice. And that's really why I often like to ask people to check in on why they're doing this. And I think it helps that right now, this moment where you've opened your eyes or you've kind of come back to engaging, if something happened to you in this moment, if somebody cut you off, if somebody yelled at you, somebody did something you didn't like, the way you would respond in this moment is very different from how you typically would respond. Now, if it's 5 minutes from now, 20 minutes from now, an hour ago, your response would also be very different from this moment. So when I say we're working on closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always, what I mean by that is if you feel, and again, I can't really say this truthfully because I don't know how everybody feels, but if you are feeling calm or still or present or a little more stable at this moment, if that's how you felt always, you would be triggered less, you would be annoyed less, you would be irritated less, because you realize sitting and breathing, everything's okay. Life comes and goes, things come and go, experiences come and go, pain comes and goes, joy comes and goes, everything is coming and going. And that's it. The Diamond Sutra talks about everything being like a dream, a bubble, an illusion. It's just this moment-to-moment experience, and we create stories around those experiences, and we make them often a lot bigger than what they really are. Because in this moment, you're just sitting and breathing. So with that, I'd like to just turn it over to you all. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. Thanks for joining us. You'll see a chat box there on your screen. I just want to open up to questions. I always prefer to respond to what's on your mind. So meditation, Buddhist practice, whatever's on your mind, feel free to type it in and I will address it going forward. Cynthia, recently I was asked how long I've been into Buddhism. I looked back to my first Dharma talk and realized it's been 17 years. Why am I not better at it? That's funny, 17 years. So been about the same for me. You know, I always say, well, I guess it'd be 18 years, but 17, 18 years. 2003 was when I started at the temple every day. It would have been 1995, right? Yeah, 95, my junior year in college, that I read a book on Buddhism. So my first real exposure to it was 1995. And then, I read some Zen books here and there and thought it was a cool thing for about 8 years. But then it wasn't until 2003 that I really started going to a temple and what I would call practicing it every day. And I think that, Cynthia, you, and I try not to respond to things too personally and always like to keep things general because they relate. I think it helps to relate to everybody, but I think what I'm about to say to you will also relate to, I guess, most people that are here this morning with us. I think you're often too critical of yourself. And even though you say it, I just see words. Knowing you, I can also see you saying it kind of laughing and joking and smiling, but then also like being very serious about it. Like, why aren't I better at this yet? And I think that for everybody, we want to give ourselves a break a little bit and recognize that you know Buddhist practice isn't something to be better at, and I would argue that you're probably much better off with this practice in your life for the last 17 years than if the practice was not in your life for 17 years. So I think it helps not to look at where I'm at or how far I think I have to go, but look at how different your thoughts are and your words are and your actions are. Everything you've learned over the last 17 years on your journey has really changed drastically who you are. So you've heard me talk about this a lot, but I don't like to look at Buddhism as something we want to judge and gauge, like, am I a good Buddhist or a bad Buddhist? The reality and the truth, Cynthia, is for you, and I think most people on this, joining us this morning, is that you have put these teachings into your life and they have changed your life 1000%. I don't think you would argue with that. Now, being you'll be incredibly critical and say, well, I'm still this, or I'm still that, or I still get upset, or I still can't let go of this, or I'm still angry at this family member, or they're still pissing me off, right? And so you look at all these things that you think you have to improve upon, and then come up with the question of, why am I not better at it? And for me, it's, again, coming back to look at how these teachings have changed your life. Right? Here you are on a Saturday morning at 11 o'clock exploring why you're not this perfect enlightened being. First off, for anyone who's brand new, none of us are these perfect enlightened beings. We're all ignorant fools. No offense to any of you, but that's where we're at. And I don't think, and again, this is for everybody, I don't think it's helpful for those who've never heard me talk about this. I don't think it's helpful to start judging. We read these Dharma books and we, listen to some beautiful Pema Chodron or Sharon Salzberg teachings, and we think, yes, that's, I'm going to have ultimate loving kindness. And then all of a sudden a family member says something to us and we're angry and we start screaming at them. And then we think, wait, I just read this Buddhist book. How come I'm not that way yet? But again, Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, you could be doing a million things right now. And here you are working on exploring and pondering how to be a kinder, gentler, better human being. So I think that is incredibly clear that your life, as I said earlier, has drastically changed because of these teachings. Now, will you continue to change your life and improve in areas that you want to improve? Absolutely, as we all will. But again, it's a work in progress. And I think that as long as we keep chipping away at this ego and the sense of self and our pride and all these things that really get in the way, 5 years from now, you'll probably be a kinder, gentler human being than you are today. And you'll still probably be asking me, why am I not better at it after 22 years? And I will say the exact same thing I just said. So keep working on it, as we all are. Hopefully that's helpful. And a very, I think a very simple way to respond to that question also is, okay, so for 17 years, you've been working on this practice, and knowing your age, as I do, then 17 years you've worked on it and 30 years you did not. So you've been around 47 years, 17 years you've worked on it, and 30 years you spent being who and however you were, which was definitely not this path. So a simple way to kind of answer the question of, why am I not better at something? Well, you've done it the other way majority of your life, right? That would be 2/3 of your life. You've been a certain way, and now you've been this way 1/3 of your life. So, yep, give yourself a break. All right, Samir. I recently hurt and offended someone deeply with my words. How dare you, Samir? Please remove yourself instantly from this class. I can't even continue. Apologized and asked for forgiveness and eventually received it. Isn't that beautiful? What does Buddhist thought say about forgiveness? Um, well, here's the first thing, and I'll say just because it's what really screams at me as you asked that from the way you typed it. Um, so you hurt someone, you offended someone, you apologized, you asked for forgiveness, and eventually you received it using your words. Isn't that beautiful? So it sounds like the forgiveness that you were seeking was for you, right? And I'll share a couple things on forgiveness, a couple thoughts. A handful of years ago, someone came into temple one night and they had immediately, I did the meditation, and then I hadn't even finished speaking, and their hand immediately went up. You could tell this question was on their mind, and they were just waiting for meditation to end so they could ask the question. And they said, a very similar way. They said, my wife just dropped me off, and she said that her wife was angry at her, and she wanted to know how to feel better because her wife was angry. And I said, well, did you do something to, hurt or offend your wife? And she said, yes. And I said, so wait a minute, you hurt and offended your wife, but now you want to feel better. I said, there's a problem here. And that's the first thing I want to address with your question. I'll give you a few other things after that, but I want you to think about this very seriously. Is you hurt and offended someone recently, I mean, this just happened. And you already are like pushing for forgiveness, right? So chances are the person just said, I forgive you, because they just want to be done with it. Chances are the person doesn't really forgive you yet. They just said, I forgive you, so you could feel better about yourself. And the reason I bring this up is that we often seek forgiveness for us. And I've learned through my life that that's a very selfish approach to forgiveness. Right. I did an interview a week or two ago with high school kids on my past about being a bully, and shared a story at my reunion, 20-year reunion, people coming up to me and asking me why I was so mean to them, and, around apologizing and asking for forgiveness. And what I realized from this whole experience was that I can't, nor do I expect people to forgive me for anything that I've done. A lot of times we've done things that don't necessarily warrant being forgiven, but we want it just so we feel better about ourselves. And, I want people to forgive me for things I've done if that's what's in their heart for them, not just to satisfy me, not just to make me feel better. I'm the one that hurt them, but I'm the one who wants forgiveness so I can feel better. That doesn't make any sense to me. So when I look at Buddhist teachings on ego and sense of self, I understand that forgiveness, when we want to forgive someone, or when we're in a position to have forgiveness, that if we hold on to anger, right, there's that metaphor about, anger is like holding on to a hot burning coal. The only one who gets burned is you. So when we forgive someone, it's for us. So when we do something and we want forgiveness from someone, it should be genuine and authentic for them, not for us. So I would love all the people who I hurt in the past to forgive me, but not to like free me from the guilt or feeling bad of what I did. If someone forgives me, that doesn't change anything that I did. I still harmed them. I still caused pain. Their forgiveness doesn't take that away. I want people to forgive me when they feel ready and they feel it's in their heart and they want to free themselves from the anger that they are carrying, right? That's not something to rush. So again, going back to your question, it was recent and you eventually received it. So Samir, just to make my point here, when you say recently hurt, how recent? Just give me 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks. How recent? How many days? 3 days. Excuse my laughter. Now, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking it can't even be that long because today's Saturday, and if that had happened prior to Tuesday, he would have brought this up Tuesday. So in my mind, I was like, all right, it happened between Tuesday and Saturday. All right, so 3 days. And eventually you got your forgiveness. Well, how kind of them to drag this out for 3 whole days. Do you honestly think that they forgive you after 3 days of whatever you did? Probably not. If they do, great. But again, the reality is you screwed up. Stop looking for forgiveness. Own what you did was wrong. Feel that pain and don't do it anymore. Someone saying, I forgive you, can often have a negative impact because it can, if we're not careful, feel like it's liberating us from carrying the burden of the pain that we caused. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that we carry guilt and shame for things we've done. I had to forgive myself, and this is very different. So what I'm asking you to do is to work on recognizing what you did and forgive yourself for what you did. Because if I carried for 20 years all the pain and hurt that I did to people, then and I wasn't able to forgive myself for it, then I wouldn't be able to continue to live a peaceful life. And even forgiving myself doesn't mean that what I did was right. It wasn't right. But I had to make peace with it and recognize that I did what I did because I was greedy, angry, and ignorant. The 3 poisons, as taught by the Buddha. So forgiveness is a very funny one. But I'm glad after, dragging it out for an entire 3 days that they were kind enough to forgive you. So I'm not suggesting you bring it up to them, but, stop begging for forgiveness and allow people to feel that anger and hurt towards you as long as they need to, and allow them to forgive you when they need to forgive you. The technical Buddhist response, when I was, my master would teach in Taiwan that when we do things that harm somebody, we should do 3 things. First, vow to recognize what we did was not in accord with the Dharma, the teachings, and vow to not do it again, and to apologize to that person or somebody else if appropriate. So recognize what we did was harmful and not in line with the Dharma, 1. 2, apologize if appropriate to that person or express our apologies to someone else. If I hurt somebody 20 years ago, now all of a sudden I want their apology and they don't want to hear from me, it doesn't do any good to contact them. So express my apology elsewhere. And 3rd, vow to not do the same thing again, which is really important because if after 3 days they've forgiven you, I don't know that you've really carried the pain long enough to drive home how important it is to not do it again. So, all right. Cynthia, thank you again. You are welcome. Lisa, if time, can you talk a little about the Buddha's connection to nature? Do you think he saw benefit to practicing outdoors in nature? Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think that there's, if you look at the Buddha's life, um, he went from living in a palace, as a prince with um, all the wealth and riches and surrounded by material possessions, um, spoiled beyond belief with jewels and money and um, women and everything he could handle. Uh, and then he left that and he spent 6 years roaming the base of the Himalayan mountains. So he went from living in a palace to living in the mountains for 6 years. And, there's not specifically that I at least have come across a lot of teaching specific about the beauty of nature. But at the same time, look at what he did. He left the palace and he went to live in nature for 6 years. And then he continued to roam and teach and live outside and uh, practice in that environment. So I think there is a lot of teachings about the appreciation for everything that is around us, to have appreciation for all that is there, all that has been created, um, and that surrounds us. Now, over the last 2,500 years, you'll see a ton of great Buddhist masters, teachers, different lineages of people that will go and they'll spend years living in, you think of the Thai tradition from Thailand. It's called the Thai forest tradition, where they live in the forest, they live in nature, they live in things as are intended to be, and they survive in nature. I think that's a beautiful practice. You have history for couple thousand years of great Chan or Zen masters who go, and in Tibet as well, Tibetan practitioners and great lamas who go and live in caves, in the mountains for years. We have to keep in mind that we're all kind of stuck in this, I'm going to go to work Monday through Friday, and it's different for everybody. So please excuse my very general example. But we're kind of stuck in this culture that says I'm going to go to work Monday through Friday and get my 40 hours in and have my Saturday and Sunday and my weekend and, try to regroup. And then we get all excited if we're able to go. I mean, our temple, we have a half day of silence retreat that we've had for 10 years, right? Obviously closed, we don't have it right now, but when the time comes we open, we'll do it again. And we're thrilled to offer people a half day of silence, a half a day. It's not even a half a day, actually, it's 4 hours. And people love it. They love just coming to the temple and being silent for 4 hours on a Saturday, as if that's the greatest thing, right? Now, there are Buddhist teachers, that monks and nuns and lamas and great masters and all that, they'll go and retreat for years, 5 years, 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, right? And just become part of nature. We're all stuck thinking, I hope I can get a day off. I hope I can drive to the mountains for a day. I hope I can have, a 3-day weekend. Oh my God, our culture is like 3-day weekend and we think we have found heaven. So I think practicing outdoors, practicing in nature is incredibly important. Monasteries, which there's a lot of that tend to be out in, very remote, isolated places, a place like Deer Park, and you can go on nature walks is beautiful. Same thing with Metaforest, the Thai forest tradition up in north of Escondido. The monastery I was at was out in the mountains. So you're pretty remote. And I think then you get yourself. So I think anytime that you can practice in nature, it's incredibly important to just go sit, listen to the stream and the river or the lake, listen to the wind blow through the trees, look at the animals, watch the insects, just become part of what's going on around you, and recognize that you are not separate from it. But the way our lives are structured, we tend to think we're separate from it. There's that whole nature thing, and then there's this little life I'm stuck in my house Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week, or work 40 hours a week, wherever it is. So hope that's helpful. Simple answer, yes. I think there's tremendous benefit to practicing outdoors and being in nature. So, all right, with that, I think I'll close. Good questions. I rambled a little more. Even more for me than usual, but we'll go ahead and join palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most. So a few quick announcements. Thanks all for being here. I appreciate it. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up the temple 14 years ago to bring Buddhist practice to local folks. Those of us who lead, we're not monks or nuns or gurus or masters. We're just practitioners doing our best to share our understanding of the teachings. We have classes every night, every morning. We closed. It's been over a year now due to the pandemic. So everything is online, Zoom or YouTube. Our recovery Sangha, I think 5 classes a week for those battling addiction. Very important. Monday through Friday morning, 8 and 8:30, we sit. Our college group, our teenage group. So there's always something going on. We have our new program, which just started. It's called Hats for the Homeless, Knit and Sit. So it's every Sunday, 3:00 virtually on Zoom. And we are making beanies for the homeless. Still working on the logistics of how they'll be distributed and collected. It won't be at temple. Please do not drop stuff off at temple. Temple is closed. But we're working on the logistics of that. But there's a Facebook group for that. And it's been in the newsletter and on all the social media stuff. So no experience required. They will teach you. They're getting all the materials. And apparently anybody can do it. So it's a great way to get involved and give back. We've had a lot of interest and excitement around that. So that's great. A couple book studies. Pristine Mind on Saturdays, every other Saturday, twice a month. And Zen Seeds is every Monday night. Buddha for You also is closed, but the books or anything else you need, you can get online at the Buddha for You website. So I appreciate you all being here. Please be safe, stay home as much as possible, wear a mask, and let's do our best to not do anything that would get anybody sick. So thank you all, and we'll see you soon.